Real Americans by Joe Koplowitz. My father and I stopped for breakfast at a Perkins somewhere in the rolling part of Pennsylvania. Lush country, towns set in quilted valleys or against hills that spoke reminders of the Alleghenies. There was nothing special about the town we stopped in, only that it had a Perkins, which we'd always liked better than Denny's or IHOP. Perkins had ambience. It was early and the restaurant was mostly empty. There was a fat woman with a face like a pot roast. There was a family, mother and father and son, who were entirely indistinguishable from one another. My father and I took a booth near the back, ordered coffee and hash browns, eggs and toast. Our waitress was stoned. She danced across the dining room with her tray, dropped a plate to the floor, giggled when we explained that we definitely hadn't ordered grits or French silk pie. She smiled at me as she twirled off again, and it was a good smile. I missed these people, I said to my father. What people? I had been in New York for a year. I missed fat women. I missed pretty girls who got high in the woods before work. These people, I said. Americans. Real Americans. I love 'em. My father shrugged. I don't know why, he said. Pot Rose hacked something up deep from within her throat and spat it into her napkin. She folded the napkin and placed it back in her lap. They're noble, I said. Don't be stupid, my father said. He forked a snotty egg into his mouth and grimaced. This food is terrible. I tried the hash browns. He was right. Why do we come here, he said. For the ambiance, I said. Our waitress was back. She stood like a ballet dancer in first position. And how is everything? She said. I noticed a mole on her neck, and that her lips were chapped. I ran through a brief fantasy of standing up, taking her around the waist, and dancing across the dining room together. What time do you get off? I would say, and she would say, right now. She would take me out to her car, a Buick, a hand-me-down from her grandparents, and drive me to the place where the kids went, a field, a clearing with a view. Even in my fantasy, I wondered whether I would have the nerve to kiss her. Sure, I decided, why not? Everything's great, said my father. Perfect. Actually, I said, these hash browns are fucking awful. The waitress stared at me. I winked at her. I had been in New York for a year. I knew how to handle pretty girls from small towns. You're an ugly little asshole, she said, and walked away without dancing or twirling. My father sipped his coffee and shook his head. Real Americans love you too, he said. We drove through Pennsylvania and into Ohio. On I-70, near Massillon, my father woke up. Where are we? He said. Massillon, Ohio, I said. Good football town. Serious high school football. Paul Brown went to high school in Massillon. No shit. I loved sports, and knew almost nothing about them. I didn't care for the history, or the rules, or the integrity of the game. What I cared for was drinking and yelling at the TV. What I cared for was having an excuse to agonize. You know who that is? My father asked. He sounded impressed. Of course I know who that is, I said. I'm impressed. Ahead of us, the land was flattening, wilting, the life dripping out of it. Soon we would pass into Indiana and Illinois. The flatlands. My shoulders are too broad for these states, I thought. I could stand in the middle of Illinois and my shoulders would stretch from Missouri to Wisconsin. Gorgeous fucking country, I said. I hate this part, said my father. Whole lot of nothing. But that's the point, I said. This is the backbone right here. This is the land that America was built on. My father turned his head to stare out of the passenger window. He nodded, rubbed his chin, made a sound from his nose. You have no idea who Paul Brown is, do you? 50 miles outside of Indianapolis, the sun began to set, collapsing down through clouds the color of warm skin. I'm ready to stop for the night, said my father. I'm ready for my tequila. In the lobby of the La Quinta Inn, a fight was bubbling. While my father checked in, I sat down and watched and waited for fists to ball up. It was an odd standoff. An older man in a sleeveless shirt, face boiling, his finger punched into the dough of a tall 14-year-old's chest. "You think I'm fucking stupid? Does this look like a stupid fucking face to you?" The older man was small but coiled tight. He looked like an ass-kicker. If it came to blows, I thought, my money's on Mr. Sleeveless. "I don't think you're stupid," said the boy. "I'm telling you the truth. I just wanted to see if it was stick or automatic." "And why the hell does that matter to you?" "'Cause I like cars." What a stupid answer, I thought. Here it comes, I thought. What came instead was the boy's father. He was in his pajamas, a blue and white checkered shirt that buttoned down the front and matching pants that didn't make it past his ankles. He was soft and scared, and he wrapped an arm around his son's shoulders. "What's going on?" he asked. "This little motherfucker tried to break into my Mustang." "Dad, I didn't, I swear." There was some sort of silence then, and the air went heavy. The boy's father, holding his son against him, and those goddamn pajamas. I didn't want to watch anymore. My father had the room keys. We made for the elevators. "What was that all about?" said my father. "I don't know," I said. "Friendly people around here," he said. The elevator doors didn't close fast enough. I had to see the boy's father shift his feet, the way his butt swished in his pajama pants, his hand on his son's shoulders, tightening, full of love and useless. In Illinois, my father and I pissed side by side in the trees behind a shuttered rest stop. His penis was a fat, pugnacious thing, just the way I remembered it from when I was young, when I would walk into the bathroom and tell him about my day as he sat on the toilet. His penis was larger than mine. "I guess you got that from your mother's side of the family," he said, and we laughed. After I laughed, I fumed silently, cursed imprecise genetics and the cruelty of God. In Missouri, at a 7-Eleven, my father bought a plain red baseball cap with a black bill. While I drove, he checked himself out in the visor mirror. "Pull off in the next town," he said. In the next town, at a 7-Eleven, he bought a Sharpie. He scrawled his signature across the front of the cap. "It looked like it needed something," he said. In Bowlegs, Oklahoma, we wandered into a bar called the Thundernose, where a wedding party had the walls trembling. The bride and groom were Indians. The music was at full thrum. The smell of spilt booze and swapped spit came off the floor in waves. "I'm going back to the motel," said my father. "Let me wear your hat," I said. There was a bridesmaid at the bar with thick black braids thumping down her back. A squaw, I thought, and I stared at her until she looked up and our eyes caught like zipper treads. We drank whiskey shots and didn't dance. Her name was Belinda. "You are," I said to her, "the furthest thing from beautiful." "Excuse me?" she said. Behind the Thundernose bar, in the oily alley light, near a dumpster, near a car without wheels and without doors, Belinda put her tongue in my mouth. "You're such a good kisser," she said. I said. "I love your hat. It's from New York City," I said. "Oh, wow," she said, and only when she pressed her hand against my jeans did I realize she wasn't capable of sarcasm. Banging back into the motel room, my father lying shirtless on his bed, holes in his underwears, the TV turned low. "Where the hell have you been?" he said. "I've been with Belinda," I said. "Who? And why do you have those?" I looked down. I was carrying a case of 30 Budweiser bottles. "I have no idea. No idea." "You have no idea who Belinda is, or you have no idea why you have those beers?" "I don't know." My father sighed. "What's wrong with you?" he said. He rubbed his eyes. "Where's my hat?" Outside in the parking lot of the motel, I smashed the beers on the blacktop. I smashed each one individually until that was too difficult, and then I lifted the case above my head and threw it down. I danced an Indian dance around the splattered glass, whooping and shouting until the light came on and someone told me to shut up or they'd kill me. In Texas, in New Mexico, in Arizona, I took pictures of the graffiti of jilted boyfriends. "Bonnie Mae Lassiter's a lying-ass bitch. Fuck you, Julie S. Sarah Pierce Hearts Blacks." I found it on trash cans outside of fast food joints. in gas station bathrooms, carved underneath diner counters, scratched into the windows of abandoned storefronts on dead or dying main streets. "Hurry up," said my father. "We're losing time." "This shit is incredible," I said. "It's like poetry." My father scrolled through the pictures on my phone. "Molly's cunt smells like sardines. Very poetic." "Hey, that's a good simile," I said. I wondered about these jilted boyfriends. Had they deserved it? Had they been first caught doing the jilting? Had they raised hands, left red stains on milk-white cheeks? No. These, I decided, were good men, good boys. They worked tough jobs, and they worked them hard. They carted carcasses, scraped rust from plumbing, reduced trees to lumber. They bought sweet gifts with the small money they had, a stainless steel pendant for Bonnie May Lassiter, a bag of Julie S.'s very favorite candy. They were in love. They were jilted, I thought, because women are terrible things. At a Wendy's in Flagstaff, my father pointed out black marker on the wall above our booth. "Burn in hell forever, Bobby Ann." "Maybe these guys could hold on to their girls if they learned how to spell," my father said. I slurped at my Frosty, refused to admit he had a point. The car broke down on the edge of California. It burped twice and gave in with a quiver and a wet hiss. My father popped the hood, but only for appearances. Neither of us knew the first thing about engines. "God damn it," said my father. He kicked the bumper. "God damn it, call somebody." "Somebody?" "Call the AAA." I looked at my phone. "No service," I said. There was a thrill to that. My father ran his tongue along the insides of his mouth. "Of course," he said, and slammed the hood. The desert was around us like bad ghosts on fire, dry, glittering heat. The closest town was Needles, California. That was 10 miles. "Should we push the car?" I said. "No one really does that," said my father. "Lock it up. We'll leave it here and walk." My spine buzzed at the base of my neck. I was thinking, adventure. I was thinking, father and son, two stark shadows working their way across the American West. I wish we had a gun. "This," I said, grinning, "is one of those moments." "What moments?" said my father. His face was twisted into some new alignment that I didn't recognize. "You know what I mean," I said. "No, I don't. Do you know what you mean?" He turned away, and I understood then, with a kind of slipping in my chest, that my father thought I was a fool, that he disliked me, and maybe he always had. "Well, fuck you," I muttered. My father didn't have the heart anymore. He was too damn old, but not me. I was young, and I had the world bursting at the seams. I knew a moment when I saw one. 5 miles from Needles, we came across a trailer home, hobbled on a slice of yellow grass. A 3-legged dog was chained to a stake in the ground, barking, running crooked circles in the dust. "Thank God," I said. The sweat between my thighs had hardened into a rough paste. My eyeballs felt scooped and pitted. I had considered twice the possibility of death, of vultures, stripped bones. My father passed the trailer and kept walking. He had hardly broken a sweat. "Hey," I said, "where the fuck are you going?" He tossed his hand in the air, which seemed to say nothing. Or many things. He didn't stop walking. "Okay," I thought, watching him push on into the wavering sun. "All right, that's how it is?" A small girl came to the door when I knocked. She was 8 or maybe 9, with her hair done up in corn blonde pigtails, and small pink sandals on her small pink feet. "Jacob, shut up!" she yelled. The dog kept barking. "That's a cute dog you have there," I said. "No, he's not. He's a retard and he ain't got all his legs." Smart girl, I thought. "You can't come in," she said. "And if you do come in, you can't use the bathroom." "Actually, I need to use a phone," I said, "and I need some water." The girl made a shape with her mouth. "Last time someone used the bathroom, they clogged up the toilet," she said. I smiled at her. "I don't need to use the bathroom. I just need a phone and some water. I looked past her into the trailer. I saw cans of SpaghettiOs stacked in playful pyramids atop the kitchen counter. I saw clothes scattered on the floor, yellow jumpers, neon socks, impossibly tiny panties flecked with stars and cartoons. I saw a few sad toys that looked radiated, post-apocalyptic. I saw a window obscured with grime. I did not see a bed or another room. "Where are your parents?" I said. She smiled back at me and said nothing. For no reason at all, I knew suddenly that I would never tell anyone about her, about any of this. I wondered if that meant there was something bad in me, and I decided that I didn't care. "You can have Jacob if you want. You can take him with you." "No, thank you," I said, already waving, backing away. "You hear that, Jacob? I don't want you anymore." Jacob ran his circles, barked, kicked up dust. 5 miles didn't seem like such a long way to walk. 5 miles was nothing. I found my father at a restaurant in Needles called the Bullpen. "Baseball," I said. "What?" he said. "The bullpen." "Oh, I think it has to do with trains, actually." "Did you find a phone?" I said. "Yep," he said. We ate hamburgers and drank strawberry milkshakes, and when the waitress's hand brushed against mine as she refilled my water, I made sure not to say a word to her. In California, my father apologized to me. "I was just pissed off," he said, "about the car." "I know," I said. "You don't have to apologize." "Well," he said, "I know you can get a kick out of all that true blue American crap. I can understand that." We drove the Pacific Coast Highway because my mother made us promise that we would. The car had needed something easy, a fan belt or a gasket. It was running smooth again. We crossed a bridge in the water below, and to all sides was a color that stirred up lost scraps of stray memory in me. I thought of my 8th grade girlfriend, her favorite pair of earrings, and the soft fuzz on her earlobes. I thought of the glow of the television in my parents' room, the way it leaked through my bedroom doors on nights when I couldn't fall asleep. "This," said my father, "is gorgeous fucking country." We made it to Humboldt with only 20 minutes to spare. We changed in the car. My suit hung loose on me, and my tie was stained with might have been ancient ketchup. The funeral was no different from any other funeral. I stood up when I was told to, sat back down again, sang along with "Shall We Gather at the River?" Didn't sing along with Amazing Grace. I glanced at my father. He wasn't crying. He looked bored. "Why is the casket closed?" I whispered to him. "You're thinking of a wake," he whispered back. We missed that. Afterward there was a reception, a buffet and an open bar. I drank Jim Beam and Diet Coke, ate shrimp cocktail, pasta salad, cold spare ribs. I watched my father hug his daughter, and her 2 daughters. Her 2 daughters called him Grandpa, which spun me around, even though I had been expecting it. "I'm so sorry," I heard him say to his daughter. He was talking about her mother, I supposed, his ex-wife, though he could have also been talking about other things. "Is that him?" his daughter asked, and it was time for me to say hello. "Hello," I said. She hugged me. We spoke, although I don't remember what was said. I was drunk. I felt a dim, swirling mixture of guilt and pride. I noticed that her teeth were crooked, her eyebrows wild and untrimmed. And then it was over, quickly. My father and I stole a bottle of tequila from the bar. No one gave us any hassle. We drove to our motel and poured ourselves shots into the plastic cups by the bathroom sink. "It was always weird to me," I said. "What was?" said my father. "How they have the same first name, her and Mom." My father slugged back his tequila. He wasn't upset. He was just in a place that I couldn't get to. That didn't bother me. It wasn't a place I wanted to go to. "I guess," he said after a long pause, "only Mom has it now." Retracing our steps back through Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania. My father drove. He kept the windows down, the radio at a murmur, just enough noise to drown out conversation. 20 miles from New York, he rolled the windows up. He shut the radio off. He clapped a hand against my thigh. "You know," he said, "all things considered, that wasn't a bad trip. That wasn't a bad trip at all." "Nope," I said. "I had a pretty damn good time." I didn't mean that, but I figured it wasn't worth getting into. It wasn't worth explaining to him that for 1,000 miles I had felt sick, not from the tequila, and not from the funeral, and not from our fight in the desert, or the girl in the trailer, or the man in blue and white pajamas, but from the hat I had lost, the hat that Belinda, somewhere in Oklahoma, was wearing, showing off, giggling, telling her friends, "It's from New York City!" while they gathered around and tried to read the name on the front, the fancy brand, the big shot designer, my father's signature. That's what got to me worst. Who knows?